Today, we're testing mead versus wine, the finale. Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Derica, and you're watching City Steading Brews.
I feel like I'm hiding behind an airlock here. Today, though, we are doing the finale. On 8/10/19, we started a mead versus wine. We actually did this one once before, but we're not talking about that because that got all messed up. So, today is 10/8. See how we did that? Almost 2 months, okay? And this has not been touched, they've not been shaken, they've not been stirred, they've been nothing. I just brought it from the desk of fermentation to the table of filmation. I don't know, whatever. And what we're going to do today is we're going to rack these into other carboys. See, it's a little bit smaller. That way there's no headspace. And we're going to taste them. I guess we can show you a little bit of the racking process because we've changed our system a little bit. We wanted our videos to be a little bit shorter, so we weren't showing the whole process. But I can show you just a little bit on one of these. So let's just push one out of the way very carefully so as not to disturb anything in the bottom. Even though just because they look dark doesn't mean that they're murky. There's sediment in the bottom of these. This is the wine, okay? So what we're going to do to rack this, it's very simple. Put this guy over there. You get your destination vessel and you put it here.
You make sure it's sanitized.
Yes, this has been sanitized in
The red bucket of sanitization!
She just really likes doing that. Okay, and then we take this one and we put it up on top of the box of levitation. Everything's of Asian lately. We didn't do that, by the way.
Is this in the way?
Yes. It's good. Okay, so now we're going to remove the rubber band that was holding the stopper in place because this one just didn't seem to want to seal, so I put it in there like that. And that's all going to go right into turbos, get cleaned up. We are going to take out our auto siphon though. Now, you may be wondering why I'm using a smaller vessel for secondary fermentation after the racking. Actually, you might be wondering why we're racking it all. We're racking it because you might be able to see at the bottom here, there's this little tiny line, it's about that thick, of sediment. And that is just yeast that's fallen out of suspension, other solids, proteins, things like that, that we don't really want in our finished beverage. And see that right there, that line? Well, that's a 1 gallon container. This is slightly less than 1 gallon. So if I was to just take that and put it right into here, leaving that little bit at the bottom, into this container, it wouldn't fill it. It'd be even less. We don't want that much headspace. The more headspace you have, the more chance of oxygenation. The more chance of oxygenation, the more chance of making vinegar. This is supposed to be a wine, not a vinegar, so we don't want all that extra headspace. So by putting it into this, I have less chance of oxygen getting into it, and therefore less chance of vinegar. So
we're using a racking cane. I have put it into the first vessel roughly halfway. I don't want it to go all the way down because when I'm pumping, I don't want to agitate that lees.
She just gets it started from up there, and then she can slowly start bringing it down as it goes. Ta-da! It's actually a gravity feed, okay? You just don't want any air bubbles in there, and it'll feed via gravity all the way from there to there. You just need the first vessel to be higher than the second vessel, and it works. If you can get it much higher, it works much better. But as you can see, Derica has no head already. If we made this higher, now you'll notice we're getting closer to the bottom, so we tipped it up a little bit very carefully so that we get more volume towards the bottom where that siphon is, and I have this on my lap. Like I said, the higher it is, the faster it'll go, but as you get towards the bottom, you need a little extra sometimes. Okay, we're nearing the end. You can see it. In a minute, you'll probably hear some gurgling. Maybe less than a minute, maybe more than a minute. We're just about at the bottom. Very close to the end here, and there it is. Once that happens, that's the signal, you're done. Yes, there is a little bit left in the bottom of there. I don't worry about it. It's not much at all. What we want to get is everything out of the hose though, because that's good, clean wine. And if you look, it filled to just about there. It would have been nice if it had a little bit more, but if you notice, I didn't do something. I did not degas this yet. I'm not going to either. because I have a little bit of headspace there, I don't want it to be bad. So let's, can I have a lid and a fermenter, or an airlock? So what we want to do now is find out how it did, okay? It started out at 1.120 original gravity, which can give it a fairly significantly high alcohol content. So I'm going to use a graduated cylinder and a turkey baster. There are a lot of ways to do this. Essentially what you want to do is have something deep enough that your hydrometer can float. Do you see? It only goes to there. I need it to be like here in order to really know that it's not going to just hit the bottom. So you can do it in any container you want, so long as this floats. Somebody asked the other day, they didn't have one of these, they used a 2-quart container. Is that okay? Yeah, of course it is. You just need the hydrometer to float. That's all. I do it this way because that's just the way I've always done it, but there's a lot of different ways to do it. If you use a large enough fermenter, you actually don't need to use the baster and test tube. Put it in. Give it a little spin. Now I also didn't degas because I saw it. There's almost no gas in this. This stuff has been sitting for quite some time, which is ideal. It sat for about 8 weeks. It's done. It's partially aged at this point, which is wonderful. This is reading 1.028. Yep, 1.028. It started at 1.120. It finished at 1.028, which is on the sweet side. We like that though. That is a 13.85% alcohol by volume. Not too bad. So what I want to do now is I'm going to take this back out, get every last drop of the liquid goodness off of it. Okay, all but the last drop. I'm going to pour some into a glass here. That's good for a taste. The rest, don't watch, but I'm going to pour it back in here. Carefully. Again, we don't want to disturb it too much. We don't want to introduce oxygen. The fact that I'm pouring it nice and careful should be fine. That goes back into turbos. Put on a lid, new airlock with sanitizer water in it. That way this can sit until such time as we feel like bottling it. Why did we bottle it today? Because I want to see if it'll clear out just a little bit more, see if we can get this to truly crystal clear.
We have moved on to the 2-rack rule, and since this is our initial racking, even though we did let it sit for an incredible amount of time,
yeah, it still could use a little.
We're still gonna just be on the safe side.
Just in case we disturbed a little sediment in the racking process. That way we're all.
Because if you see this one,
that's almost embarrassing.
This was one of our first brews, and you can see that there's sediment in here, and that's because we hadn't done the 2-rack rule yet.
Yeah.
Having the double racking makes it so that there's less chance to have sediment in your final bottling.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the same process on this other bottle. Not sure that you really need to watch though. Okay, this one started at 1.124, ended at 1.010. That is a whopping 16.95% ABV. Now, right there, that makes this hard to actually compare these two, because they're going to be almost 3% different in alcohol, but they're also going to be different in sweetness levels by about 15 points. It's okay, we're still going to try them. Mead in and of itself is usually, even when it's drier, a little sweeter tasting than an equivalent wine. So, we'll see what happens. Again, pouring very carefully. Put that back into turbos. Put on the lid with another airlock with fresh sanitizer water. And already I've seen that other one letting out a couple of bubbles. So they are degassing a little bit. That means I have some carbon dioxide blanket on the top of these. Good to go. All right, so let's put that to the side. Now we're at the fun part of the show. That's the mead, that's the wine. Do we want to do one at a time and then, yeah.
Okay.
So let's do wine first.
We'll do wine first.
So this is the wine.
I'm going to look at it.
Right.
It's a beautiful gem red.
Oh, it really is. That is beautiful color.
I would say this is a garnet.
That's my birthstone.
It's not ruby because it would be pinker if it was ruby. So this is a garnet.
Smell.
I do get some of the alcohol, but I get that
I must be immune to that.
heavy fruity, syrupy elderberry
Oh, yeah.
essence.
Elderberry can be kind of earthy, and that's why I was thinking the sweeter one might actually be nice. And this is the sweeter one. Yeah, the fruit smell is just wonderful. It's that berry, almost a tinge of strawberry, a little bit of cherry,
You can
all the dark fruits.
You can smell a slight tartness. Can you smell
Yeah.
tart? I don't know, but one of the fruit senses.
It comes across like a tart cherry.
Sounds like it'd be a tart cherry, yeah.
Go ahead and taste it.
But it's a combination of fruits, and
Do the roar.
you just imagine that there are ripe and juicy fruits by the scent.
That is wonderful.
I definitely get the sweetness up front.
There's a tartness though. There's definitely some mouthfeel and tart.
Yep. It's not a boring beverage. It does have a nice bit of complexity. It's not the most complex
There's
thing.
even a sharpness of
but-
acidity there.
Yeah. I'm getting tannins off of it. I'm getting sweetness. I'm
It's
getting
been
the
2 months. I don't actually
fruitness-
remember what we put in this
fruitiness.
anymore. But wow, that's good. That is
Yeah.
just really, really good.
It is very nice.
We have nothing to rinse our palates. 1 second.
So now we are going to partake in water rinsing our palates. Some people have criticized us that we haven't
So you should
rinsed
breathe your arm.
our palates. And there's a few instances where we have switched back and forth rather quickly just to not miss any nuances, but most of the time we are rinsing our palates. We just edit that out of final filming because who wants to see me swash some water around? But
And if you do, that's just creepy.
now you're going to get to see me swash some water around.
Excited now? You heard it, folks. All right. Time for the mead.
Now, the mead looks darker
It looks cloudier.
and it looks cloudier.
I think we did get a little bit of sediment up in the last end of it.
Yeah, Brian was noticing when we were
The
racking
sediment layer was a
these
little thicker.
that the sediment was different in between the two.
It was a little more
beverages.
loose, whereas the first in the wine it was packed pretty good. Same yeast and everything. It's just sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't.
So because we may have gotten a little bit of sediment into the mead, it's hard for us to give a true comparison
It's pretty clear though.
onto whether there really is a clarity difference or if it's just the sediment that we got that mixed into that's making it appear to be more cloudy than the wine.
Okay, everything that the wine was, add honey. That's exactly what this smells like. Seriously, it's just add honey to it. I get all the berryness, the tartness, the sweetness, all that little tinge of strawberry, everything about it with a honey scent.
I get the honey on the third smell
Oh, I got it.
because I am getting more of the alcohol smell in this. Now, Brian's nose isn't as sensitive as mine, so lots of times there'll be things that I will notice that he doesn't.
Okay, I don't smell the alcohol and things because I nose whiskeys. This
I think
is like 30 proof.
his
I nose
alcohol
130 proof
receptors
stuff.
have just been burnt right out, so...
Well, the alcohol I don't notice, but I get other subtle. Bro, I'm not that bad.
No, it's not what I meant.
I know.
And please don't mistake my words for saying that Brian can't smell things. Brian has a very good sense of smell, but
Oh, hers is definitely more sensitive.
mine is more sensitive. Which in some cases is a bad thing.
I'm not one of those guys. Just so you know. And the color looks a little bit. It's not quite as ruby red. No, you said not ruby. Garnet. It's not quite as garnet red. It's more ruby red.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna taste it now. Wow. Here's what I get. Right off the bat, stronger. You can tell there's more alcohol. it's got that little bit of an ethanol back note to it that actually makes it not unpleasant, but it's getting there. The finish is mildly bitter and unpleasant, and I think that's the alcohol content. Overall, it tastes quite nice, especially for something as close to dry as this is, because we tend to like sweeter wines. The fact that it's nearly 17% alcohol and still tastes pretty darn good, I'm actually okay with that. With only 2 months of age. If that aged a year, it might be amazing.
So here is my final take on this. We tend to like sweeter things, which is kind of odd because I'll drink gin straight and he'll drink
Bourbon, which
whiskey,
is sweet.
scotch, bourbon, anything straight. But for wines, we tend to like sweeter wines by themselves. But as
With
we've
food.
gotten more into this, we have learned to appreciate the drier wines with food.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the mead
Goes with a steak.
would be lovely with food, where
The wine can go with anything.
the wine might be more like a aperitif style after dinner
Oh, I
wine.
wouldn't say it's that sweet.
Oh, it's not that sweet. It's just I could drink that alone
Oh, okay. I see what
and be
you're saying.
completely fine.
Yeah. But the real question is, which do we like better? And as I said, because they fermented slightly different, that makes that comparison very difficult. If they came out the same sweetness, I'm going to bet it'd be very difficult to say. The mead seems to be a little bit more complex in flavor. Okay, it does seem to have a little more subtlety to a few things, more notes, if you will. The wine has several notes. I'm a little surprised. I thought it was going to be a lot simpler. It actually has some complexity to it. I think the mead adds just a little tiny bit more. If they were the same sweetness, I'd probably lean towards the mead. As they are right now, I lean towards the wine. Mostly because of the sweetness and that bitterness of the ethanol in the mead. Now, it's also a fairly young mead, so
Sure.
take that into account. So because this is so young, what we were thinking about, and I wasn't going to do it, but then now that they're so different and the mead tastes so young, maybe what we'll do is put some in a bottle, let it sit for a year, come back and revisit this. As we tend to just drink them, somebody I'm sure will remind me that we didn't do that yet, so I'll just bury these in the back of my closet. They'll still be there. That's about all we got for today. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to know what we're up to all the time, hit subscribe. And we do have Patreon and Subscribestar with a VIP lounge on Facebook. That is for patrons and Subscribestar people only. And you get to see a little bit more of our behind the scenes goofiness and what we're up to. But as always, thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.
Bye-bye. Hey, are you still here? Awesome. Do you know what that means? That means you're one of our people, because you're probably still here thinking,
Or you just haven't shut it off yet.
did they film a blooper? Well, I'm sorry, we did not film a blooper, but what we have for you instead is a question.
Actually, what we didn't do is we did film a blooper, but the camera went past 30 minutes and shut off, so you don't get to see it. So you get to listen to us talk instead.
My question to you is, do you like the format of having smaller videos of each process of one type of beverage?
Like we do now.
Like we do now, where we do the making of the beverage, the racking, and then the final tasting as 3 separate videos? Or would you rather it be we put all those together truncated into one video?
Now that would mean that you won't see the racking, you won't see the bottling. We'll have to cut some of that short because we found that people really don't like anything more than a 15 or 20 minute video. Beyond that, it starts getting really, really difficult, and we try to keep them shorter. You've probably noticed that. Unless it's a special video, there are some that, you know what, it's just gonna be 45 minutes. For the most part, though, we're trying to keep them shorter. So that's why we're curious, would you rather see a part A, B, or would you rather just see it all in one shot? So,
Please answer that question for us in the comments below, and thank you again for watching.